The whistle isn't blown, but it is now. There's a new name on the FA Cup. It's Crystal Palace.
The winners of the Emirates FA Cup.
Oliver's Army on their way to collecting the South London's club first major trophy. Emirates Ezer, the match winner. European qualification comes with it as well, Stuart. And an extraordinary defensive display led by goalkeeper Dean Henderson.
And the one time early in the game when they got it forward, they got it into Mateta, he held up the play. The goal was exactly how Glasner would have thought it to be. Centre forward links up the play, the right wing back gets forward, and Eze, who has been outstanding throughout the tournament, scores a great goal. One or two problems here. Pep Guardiola having to go at Henderson for time wasted. That's not great. But Henderson likewise has had a superb tournament. Semi-final and the final, he's been absolutely outstanding. And every one of these players deserve it, don't they?
That penalty save, of course, crucial. Glad all over has never been more appropriate as the club's anthem. But it is sad all over for Manchester City, summing up their disappointing season, falling short of their previously excellent standards. They couldn't stop. The Eagles have finally landed a major honour. The 144th FA Cup final produces the tournament's 45th different winner, Crystal Palace. Palace 1, Manchester City 0.
Well, what an astonishing achievement that is. As Martin was saying, the 45th different winner of this grand old competition. And Oliver Glasner can celebrate. And when Steve Parish appointed him, he said, he's someone who wins things. He's someone who changes things. And Palace finally have a trophy. Brought to them by that man, Ebere Eze. And some of those pictures in the Palace end, well, there they are, just extraordinary. And these celebrations will go on, and if you're a football fan, particularly of a club of Palace's size, you'll know exactly what they're feeling, and you'd love to feel it yourself one day. Clive, that was something else.
An incredible FA Cup final, it really was. It's been a remarkable run. We mustn't forget they've only conceded one goal in the competition. It's been an exception. Big teams have gone by the wayside. Palace have stayed in there, they've performed well, and they've ended up winning the FA Cup for the first time.
And Dean Henderson arguably shouldn't have been on the field, but was just extraordinary. What a performance from him.
Absolutely, save after save. Yes, there's some controversy about the potential handball just outside the box, but he didn't lose his head, he kept his cool, and it was an outstanding goalkeeping performance from Henderson.
And let's be clear, referee's refereeing the game, the VAR does what he does. Henderson can't do anything about that, so it doesn't tarnish his performance in any way. He might have got away with one, but he was simply magnificent before and after that. And he will rightly get all of the plaudits, and I suspect will be named player of the match. Eze was brilliant too. There were heroes all over the place, but the goalkeeper really is the one that's won them the cup.
Yeah, it was a fantastic defensive display, but you cannot take anything away from Dean Henderson. It was save after save that was outstanding. City had their opportunities, they couldn't take their chances, and Henderson played a massive, massive part in Crystal Palace winning this game.
Look at those pictures, just extraordinary. And they're going to stay there for as long as they can, and so are the players too. And why wouldn't you? And the interesting thing is, you included, a lot of people were giving Palace a chance. I know City were favourites, but there was just a sneaking fancy that Palace could do something, and boy did they do it.
Well, Dave, they played to their strengths, and the way that they crafted their goal was playing to their strengths up to the centre forward. Good hold-up play. They linked the play. It went out wide to Munoz, who time and time again runs relentlessly down the flanks, delivers into the danger area, and there's Eze to score a magnificent winner.
And Marquet had to come off, and still part of it, still part of the run, still his day too, still he who will lift the FA Cup. And Glasner, well, just magnificent. Got so much right this season, not just today. Yeah, after a slow start, we must remember they didn't particularly start the season well, but as it's built, he's had a massive influence on the way that the team plays, the way that he's developed this group of players, and he is a winner. He knows how to win trophies, and he's lifted Crystal Palace's first in their history. Where might this take Dean Henderson? A high-profile display like that can get you places. England international now, and who knows? He's going to be knocking on the door, isn't he?
Well, for those supporters, Dave, as well, European football next season.
Absolutely. And you wouldn't write this fella off either. And they're going to enjoy these moments. Lovely bond between fans and players. And when you've lost twice in the final, in the manner that they have, they've had it sort of ripped away twice by Manchester United. The famous one in 1990, that great game, and then 2016 with the Pardew dance. Well, they're all dancing now. And Mark Bright in that team in 1990, lovely man as well, someone we both know, and there he is leading the applause. He won't quite believe this yet, Mark Bright.
No, they won't believe it, but they better believe it. They've worked tirelessly this season. They've had an outstanding FA Cup run.
See Roy Hodgson and Gareth Southgate, both of course with major parts to play at Crystal Palace, and both with big smiles too. And there is Oliver Glasner. What moments for him. Such a calm character as well, and he said beforehand, as long as we express ourselves, as long as we stick to the game plan and play the way I know we can, the result is another thing, but I want us to do that, and they did do that, and it worked out for them.
Absolutely. I always say the team are a reflection of the manager, and Crystal Palace epitomise everything that he stands for. He knows how important Eze was. His goals have been massive come the end of the season. Semi-final goals, certainly magnificent goal today, which was a difference between the two sides.
Isn't this lovely to see the relationship between them as well? Having a bit of fun, weren't they? He said, I saw you doing something. Maybe it was holding onto the ball late on and winning that free kick, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Soon they are going to have the thrill to end all thrills. They're going to be going up to lift the FA Cup. And when you've been through what Palace have been through in two previous finals, you'd have woken up with great hope. You wouldn't have dared wake up with any expectation. You'd have dreamt of this, and it's come true.
And they're never going to forget it.
Guardiola stays out there and fumes about the referee, but they were given a penalty that arguably shouldn't have been, but for some reason Haaland didn't take it, Marmoush did, and Henderson stopped that.
And Dave, could it be an unthinkable season where City actually achieved nothing, which would be almost unthinkable? They're in a position now where they have to try to qualify for European football.
Absolutely, because that is a long way from done, but it's not their day. This day's all about Palace. There's those Holmesdale t-shirts, you can see them, the Holmesdale end famously at Selhurst Park, and these players now, job done, can just enjoy themselves, can celebrate, can be a bit silly out here on the pitch, can thank their goalkeeper, and then we'll get that magical moment when they'll lift the FA Cup. For him, just desolation. I wonder what's going through his mind. I wonder if he's potentially thinking about, do I want to do this again? Do I want to go through another season? I know he said once he leaves City he'll have a break. You never know. Well, but David, that's not the story today.
It's been one of the toughest of his career. It has to be, but the jubilation, the joy is all Crystal Palace's.
And the thing is, it would be easier to have loads of sympathy about the goalkeeping handball, about the red card that wasn't, if it weren't for the penalty, because in a way that felt like the moment they had to claw that back to get the game back to 1-1. The wrong player took the penalty, Henderson saved it, and I know if Henderson had been sent off that early in the game, just after the half hour, well, City probably would have gone on to win, we'll never know, but still, they did have a chance, didn't they, of redemption in that moment, and they couldn't take it from the spot.
They had chances, not only the penalty kick, they had opportunities, but Henderson was absolutely outstanding in everything that he did.
Well, what a journey it's been as well for Steve Parish, such a popular figure, and he has led them so well, the chairman. He's made a great appointment as well in the shape of Oliver Glasner. So many good wishes for him, and good wishes all around the stadium. They're going to be lifting the real thing soon. He's brought his tin-foil one, but he's going to see his heroes lift the real thing. Fabulous moments for everyone involved at Crystal Palace. Let's put a seal on it. Let's get back to Stuart and Martin for the trophy lift at Wembley.
First up in the climb to the presentation area, the match officials, and then Manchester City, led by Pep Guardiola, who his emotions are never far away, are they? He doesn't really hide them.
No, he doesn't look happy, does he?
No.
Understandably so. Who he's not happy with, he had a go at Dean Henderson as he came on the field, which is not great.
And Kevin De Bruyne with just a couple of games, important games to play now.
But he was still, in my view, their key player. He was the one player that might have unlocked Crystal Palace. He produced 4 or 5 really good passes, but the players in front of him, the front players, didn't do enough. O'Reilly had a big chance and wasted it by wanting to take it onto his left foot.
Well, there are 3 consecutive cup finals now. Read, won, lost. That's only ever happened once before, between 1984 and 1986, to Everton, who beat Watford and then were runners-up to Manchester United and Liverpool. How similar this, Stuart, to the Carabao Cup final, with Newcastle landing a first domestic trophy for 70 years. In the domestic knockout competition, it's been a season of sensational surprises.
Well, in the Carabao Cup, the celebrations are still going on in Newcastle, from what I can tell. I know a couple of Newcastle supporters that live in London. They seem to be going up there every week to celebrate. The same will be happening in South London.
Well, he knows the focus will be on him, as he does as well. But the 2 games are home to Bournemouth, away to Fulham, to determine whether they will get European football in the Champions League anyway next season. They're out of that top 5 position, but they do have this game in hand. Everybody else will feature in that. Well, the vast majority of them have played an extra game. But it's sometimes when the passing is easy on the eye, but easier for the opposition, you wonder about the philosophy, the failure, death by 1,000 passes.
There just at times needs to be more urgency. You know, Manchester City have done brilliantly over the years. Pep Guardiola did it with Barcelona as well. But there's been occasions this season when the ball just needed to be played into the box, and players in the box need to make better runs. But that man there, what a servant he's been to Manchester City, and a brilliant player in the Premier League. Ilnay.
It is.
An actor.
And sending the message. Palace have won the FA Cup and runners-up medals for those, some of whom, of course, have now got a second one after losing to Manchester United last season. Joel Ward, who's leaving Palace at the end of the season, but what a way to go out after a long period of service with a FA Cup winners medal. He was in a word with Jean-Philippe Mateta. And that's what it's all about. And we mentioned his Royal Highness's Aston Villa affiliations. At least he can say they went out to the team that won it.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't a good performance by his beloved Aston Villa in the semi-final. They were outplayed by Crystal Palace. You can't say Man City have been outplayed by Crystal Palace today, but Crystal Palace got their game plan absolutely right in the end, defended brilliantly and scored that brilliant counter-attacking goal so early on in the game.
Runners-up in 1990 and 2016, both times to a Manchester club, United. But they have seen off City with one of the great defensive displays I've ever seen in an FA Cup final. Yes, one or two moments that could have gone the other way went their way. But that's the destiny of football. It's the unpredictability of it. And it's good to see that Mark Gay is fit to go up the steps. Joe Ward has been a club captain and he's got the armband on. So he may well be involved in the presentation.
Kamada played his part, I thought, in midfield again. Unsung hero, because he didn't get on the ball that much, but some of his defensive work was superb, closing people down, just filling gaps.
To capture the moment. There are plenty of big cameras focusing on him, so it's all available, Jean-Philippe. And of course, seriously injured in the FA Cup, in the course at Millwall, caught by the goalkeeper. But fighting back. I don't know about his hearing, but his running hasn't been impaired at all.
He certainly hasn't. He posed a threat.
His part on the goal, Stuart, you spotted up at the time.
Well, because they hadn't got out their half at that particular point, and they decided they passed it to the back, they played it forward, he got hold of it, set it up once, set it up the second time. Munoz got down the right-hand side, and the timing of the run, the timing of the pass, everything was perfect from a Crystal Palace point of view. Lesnar couldn't have thought of it any better, could he?
I didn't see Mark Bright with tears in his eyes just after the final whistle. And here he is, Oliver Glasner.
Crystal Palace.
A man who knows how to win, as he showed in Germany. And an Austrian to have his name on the roll of honour in charge of an FA Cup winning team. Not just any old FA Cup winning team. Crystal Palace's very first success in this marvellous trophy, which again, Stuart, has produced a wonderful final, an amazing occasion, a match that was all about the tactics as well as the talent.
Well, let's talk about before the game, the atmosphere inside the stadium, how the game, the fireworks, the pyrotechnics, the noise, the sense of occasion, abide with me, everything today was magnificent.
You can never get blasé about these moments, but there are some sides that have won it a lot. It would have been City's 8th win had they triumphed today. When it's the first time, it's the special time. He had his go and came very close in 1990 as the manager. But there's been nothing like this in the club's 120-year existence. Their very first FA Cup tie as a Football League club was against Manchester City, and they were a third division team against the top division team, and they won. A giant killing act that in its sense that they're in the same division now. This has the feel of the underdog having its day.
Well, they have been a club that have gone up and down the leagues. In the 70s, they were in the third tier. Then we're going to be the team of the 80s, weren't they, at one point, when Terry Venables was the manager and they were producing a lot of young players. Didn't quite happen for them. One of those young players were sold. They ended up going down. Terry Venables moved on to bigger and better things.
And there's the man who has done so much. Because you can defend for all your lives, but if you don't score, you don't progress. and they have defended. They've conceded 1 goal in this cup run. 1 goal. And Mark Gay has made his way to play his part in the ceremony, along with Joel Ward. His final act maybe as a Crystal Palace player.
He was just about to lift the cup there. He was about to put his hands on it. Joel Ward.
Touch it for luck. When you've won it, you can touch it for luck. Well, such an historic day for Crystal Palace. Football's Eagles have never flown so high. They're into Europe next season as well because of this very special team that have achieved the seemingly near impossible. The club that had never won a major trophy until today. Crystal Palace, FA Cup winners 2025. What it is to be glad all over, Stuart.
Absolutely. They won't feel any better than this. And this is going to last. The celebrations for Crystal Palace for quite some time to come. Them and their supporters. What a day for the players. The staff, the hierarchy, but most of all, the supporters that have been magnificent throughout this game and the whole competition.
A season that started very unpromisingly, and it's not quite ended yet because the league programme has a few more days to run, but it is this day that will be seen as the conclusion of a great campaign in the FA Cup, but the development of a team with a philosophy to show that there is a place for defending in the game, and if you get it right, you can go a heck of a long way. And that is what has taken Crystal Palace to these magical moments. He's not going to drop it, not Dean Henderson.
Not the way he's played in the semi-final and the final. Yes, he may have got lucky with the handball outside the box. That's a big moment that everybody will look back at. But he made some very good saves as well, particularly the penalty and that one from Docker in the first half.
Well, every Palace fan has stayed, as you can imagine. The City fans already on the motorways, I'm sure, back to the northwest, pondering on the way the season has gone.
Oh, Ben Chilwell's going to hold the cup a lot. He hasn't had a great time since he's been on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah, but he was part of that Chelsea squad that lost 3 in a row. He didn't play in every game, but this is even as a non-playing substitute, you've got your medal. Eddie Nketiah now a winner with 2 clubs.
He hasn't got his camera with him anymore, Mateta.
Now the cameras are on him. Still calm. And these days, via the cameras being in all the places where we all want to go as fans, you can hear his team talks. You can hear the way he spoke to the players after they won the semi-final, and I'm sure if you look in the right places on the internet, you'll be able to follow what happens after this, up to a point anyway.
What you didn't see there was that Pep Guardiola was out in the other half of the field, standing by himself for a long, long time. I think he's just made his way off the pitch now. But it's all about these players.
These are the moments that you hope can last forever if you're a player. being in the euphoria. A win is one thing, a Wembley win is another thing, but to do it against the most successful club in the country for a decade, and to do it by fighting tooth and nail from first whistle to last, it's truly extraordinary.
But how many times has that happened in the FA Cup? We were talking about a game in 1973 when Sunderland, second division side, or the second tier of English football at the time, against the mighty Leeds. And Ian Porterfield scored a goal. Wimbledon, you know, a team that was struggling in the top flight.
The crazy gang.
Crazy gang up against Liverpool, who were an outstanding team. They go and win the game 1-0. Laurie Sanchez with a header. Wigan here against Manchester City.
Yeah, it has a bit of the Wigan about it, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah.
That's why the FA Cup is such a special tournament.
It'll be on show at Selhurst Park, Palace training ground as well. The adrenaline rush, the winning feeling, so hard to explain, but it is so entrenched in professional athletes. Yes, they get well paid. Yes, they make sacrifices in their life at a time where perhaps you should be out enjoying arguably the best years in your life, but you do it for this. And Dean Henderson's had some downs in his career as well as ups. But if you work hard enough, the chances are there. And they've taken their chance today. What a great goal, by the way.
Yeah, super goal. I thought in that first period of the game, when they were struggling to get out their half, they weren't quite sure when Henderson passed the ball to Richards, what he was going to do with it. He did the same when they passed it to Gay. How were they going to get out? On that occasion, they went long, and Mateta held it up, and then that enabled other players to go and join. And from that moment on, they were so clinical in the 3 or 4 passes up to the goal and the finish, of course.
Well, the stage is set on the pitch for the post-match photos. There's still disbelief around the stadium at that end. Well, somebody's printed these shirts, of course. Where they go if you don't win is another matter altogether. But, they did win. They have won. In one of the great stories of this season, and many a season in the FA Cup. A tale that will be told over and over again around South London. Not the most fashionable part of the capital, but certainly a place where the people know their football, and the club, despite some difficulties, has come strongly through. They're in the Premier League again next season, of course, and there was some doubt about that at the start of the season. They've got another target now, actually. They want 50 points from the Premier League. They're on 49. They've never got 50. They've got a couple of games to go, because the last one is at Liverpool on the day that they'll be forming a guard of honour, I'm sure, for the Premier League winners at Anfield. And that will be a foretaste of the Community Shield final looking ahead. Well, the Community Shield is obviously the FA Cup winners against the Premier League champions. And it will be Liverpool against Crystal Palace.
And it's not that long away, is it? We're still in this season. It's not that long away. August 9th, around about, I think.
Yep. He's just in the man in the white shirt there. Terry Byfield's been at the club over 40 years. What a day for him.
The winners of the Emirates FA Cup.
One for the cameras.
Crystal
Palace. They turned Wembley into their palace today. still disbelief amongst the fans, but total belief amongst the team. That's how they've done it. And I suspect there are a few decent dancers in there. Well, I hope you enjoyed being with us today. Certainly if you're of a Palace persuasion, you will have done. And I guess favouring the underdog might well have been with the majority today. But sympathies to Manchester City, but they missed a penalty, which might have changed the story. The story you're going to read about now is of the Eagles from South London, the FA Cup winners of the 24-25 season, milking the moments here absolutely deservedly. They are Crystal Palace Football Club. Well played.
Yeah, what a day, what a wonderful day to be a fan of Crystal Palace, to be a Crystal Palace player. Mark Gay and Joel Ward lifting that FA Cup. And Henderson, absolutely the hero. And there's a photo for the album, and there is the goal-scoring hero. And you can never take that away. Didn't just score in a cup final, scored the winning goal in an FA Cup final. What a day for Emirates Eze. What a day, Clyde, for Crystal Palace.
Absolutely, congratulations to them. It's been a wonderful cup run. They've taken advantage of what you would say potential winners of the competition. As they've dropped, they've kept going. They've only conceded one goal. The most remarkable performance today. They only needed one goal, and it was jubilation for Palace and all their supporters. The first time they've ever lifted the FA Cup.